Okay, thank you. Anyway, so tonight's stuff is basically we know that Beis Hillel holds that it's a pruta. That's which is the way we paskin. That's why the Masada Kiddushin asks: is it worth a shav a pruta or not? Right? Beis Shammai holds it's a dinar. So we're gonna have four. I think it's four different answers. There's four different answers of what Beis Shammai's sheet is going to be. So Bekesa Beis Shammai and Bedina. Yeah, we're a little bit of the two dots by Yidal from Rav. Should be a pretty quick daf, and it was starting very late. I apologize for the inconvenience, but it should be pretty quick with Gershon sitting here. Yeah. So because of Beis Shammai and Bedina, so it's a dinner. So my tamayot to Beis Shammai. Why is Beis Shammai hold it's a dinar? Right. So Amar Zera Shekain Isha Makpedas Alatzma. Can you believe it? Women are actually makpid on something. Okay. Isha Makpedas Alatzma. A woman is makpid on herself that she's not gonna. She has a minimum sale price. Vein Miskadesh Bachas Medina. So Beis Shammai holds that a woman is not going to marry herself off less than a dinar. Meaning a pruta, yes, any kinyan can happen with a pruta because that's the minimum amount of money. But the bottom line is a woman's not going to want to sell herself for less than a dinar.
Even though she'd rather be top lamei top dan, she'd rather be with somebody.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it means that she won't get married. Like push comes to shove, she'll get married, but the dinar is what meaning she's going to want the guy to give her the dinar. Does that
It's
make sense?
below that much of an embarrassment. That much of an embarrassment she's not going to do.
It's not the same thing. She could be married for nothing with a star. It's when you tell her that you're buying her, how much.
Yeah, but when she's expecting to get something, she doesn't. So then it's one thing if she agrees to a star, but if she's expecting to get money and you give her nothing, it's like a patch and panim, no?
Well, you have to give her something. It's a Kenyan kesef, so you're buying her.
We hope she's not expecting.
She's not going to sell herself for less than a dinner. It has nothing to do with Tavlamesav.
Why not? It doesn't. Meaning,
there has to be money involved. If there has to be money involved, what's it going to be? There's going to be a minimum.
Meaning, if you ask her what's her minimum price, she's going to say, listen, I want a dinar. And the truth be told, what's a dinar already? How much is a dinar anyways?
Not much.
Right? So I'm saying, I think it's a bigger slap in the face, the dinar, than the pruta. Pruta, okay, it's the minimum amount. The dinar, that's all I'm worth. Okay, but that's really sort of what the Gemara's next kasha is. So the Gemara is assuming that a woman will not sell herself less than a dinar. So Amar Le'Abaya, Elamiata upon Seder of Yanai. So Rav Yanai's daughters, the captain of Shayu, they would not be mekadesh themselves with less than a tirkava de dinri, right? Which is 3 kav of gold, right? So meaning, I don't know how they knew this, but I guess they were holdouts. When they got married, they told the guy, we're not marrying you with a dinar, you're going to give us a lot more. So those type of ladies, are you going to say that if they stick out their hand and they get a zuz from somebody, hachanami, do have a kiddushin? So this is also not a kiddushin, right? So meaning, what the Gemara is asking is, are you going to say that if a woman has her kpedus, right, that she wants to say, she says you got to give me $1 million, you want to marry me, fine. That means that if anything less than $1 million and she takes it, and she's not going to be married, of course she's going to be married, right? So meaning, how could it be how could Reb Zera say that Beis Shammai is saying that dinar is because that's the minimum amount? Yeah. So meaning that means that every woman is going to have her minimum, and you do less than that, she's not married. It doesn't make sense. So I'm not talking about where she sticks out her hand as makabalid. If that's the case, then she clearly has no problem with that amount. We're talking about where she was the makadish at night, so she couldn't see how much money was being given to her. Or she made a shliach, so she has no idea how much money is being given to her. So in that case, you got to do a dinar. Meaning, in the Havamina, the Gemara thought it's anything less than whatever minimum that women would take is you're not going to marry her. She's not going to be married. But that can't be. So what it is that if a woman decides to take a certain amount of money, that's fine according to all shitas, right? But we're talking about what is sort of the the default, where if she's not aware of how much money she's taking, so then Beis Shammai says it's going to be a dinar.
Essentially, you're saying the Shammai agrees with this. It's a pruta, really.
Right. So according to this shot, it's really a pruta. That's what Gershon is saying. Good point. Really, it's a pruta. But because women would want a dinar, so it should be a dinar. The default will be a dinar, meaning if she has no idea what she's taking, it has to be a dinar. Right? So Rabbi Yosef Amar, so that's teretz number one. Rabbi Yosef Amar Tamar de Beshami Kid Rabbi Yehuda Amar Ravasi. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Ravasi Kol Kesef Amar B'Torah Kesef Tzuri. Anytime it says the word Kesef in the Torah, it's referring to Kesef Tzuri. V'shel Devreim Kesef Medina. And from their words, it's called Kesef Medina. There's an English word in the article. What's it? Tyrian. Tyrian, right? That's what the article says. Yeah, Tzuri, that's the name of the town. Right? So, meaning when the Gemara, when the Torah says the word Kesef, it means pure. I don't know, pure silver, but it means silver. It means it has to be the worth or actual silver, right?
Does the Gemara have a right to this? Like that it means dafka every time it says kesef means suri?
Well, the Gemara sure has a lot of kashas on this, right? And the Gemara is going to change it. What? Kesef tzuri. That is, we do, yeah. But when it's a derabanan, then it's kesef medina. Right, so meaning kesef tzuri means it's a certain amount, like pidyon aben, right? So you need 5 silver coins. They have to have a certain. That's the problem with using. I think that's the problem with using silver coins nowadays. Stam silver coin. We have no idea how much silver is in them, right? The kesef, the zuzim that you have to use for pidyon aben has to be a certain amount of actual silver in it, right? So when it says it in the Torah, it needs to have a certain amount of silver. So a dinar is going to have that. But with the Rabbanon, we don't care. But the Rabbanon, when it says kesef, it means whatever the local denomination is of kesef. Right? So that's teretz number 2. Now the Gemara is going to ask kashas on this, a bunch of kashas. So Kufa. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Amar Yehuda Amar Ravasi, Kol kesef Amar B'Torah, kesef tzuri v'shal d'reim kesef medina. So Gemara says, well, klalahu, is this a set rule? I would say it's an ironclad rule, but that's not a good pun, right? A silver clad rule. Uklalu, is this a rule that anytime the Torah says the word kesef, it means pure silver? Vare antam bebeis now. Vare taina, yeah, taina is like the yeshivish way of calling it's maida b'miktzas, right? Maida b'miktzas hataina, so it's calling it taina, right? The Gemara asks, right? Taina is basically if one guy goes over, another guy says, you owe me $100. And he says back to him, I don't owe you 100, I owe you 50. So when he does that, he has to make a shavua. Right? Meaning, or he says, the way the Gemara has it in Bava Metzia, that he says, I gave you $100 to watch for me. And the guy says, no, you only gave me 50. Somebody's going to be... Right?
I'm just going to put this up. I just need 1 carrot.
Doctor,
hey, somebody.
not me. It's Dr. Zaccaro.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
I got it.
All right. So Vare Taina. So Taina. So you have to have a minimum amount of how much they're tining, and how much, and the minimum amount of the denial. Right. So let's see. Taina the Sikiyitin Shareo Kesef or Kalim Lishmor. A guy gives his friend silver or kalim to watch. V'tanan shvuas hadayanim hataina shtei kesef ha'ida shava pruta. Right? Shvuas hadayanim, meaning when the dayanim make a shvua because he's maida b'mikzas. So hataina maida b'mikzas shvuas hadayanim hataina. That's why it's called taina. Taina means a complaint. Shtei kesef, meaning the complaint has to have 2 kesef. Meaning he has to say that you owe me at least 2 kesef. A ha'ida and a ha'ida is shava pruta, right? So what do you see? That the Torah says kesef, yet the measurements are pruta. If Ravasi or who's it, whatever, if Beis Shammai is correct that it means actual silver, right? Then it should be dinner, not pruta. So Gemara says hasam dumya de kalim. No, there it says in the pasuk, when a person gives to his friend kesef and kalim. So there it has to be similar to kalim. Ma kalim shnayim, av kesef shnayim. Kalim is plural. So Kalim he needs to have a complaint that the guy owes him at least 2 utensils, and so Mameli has to owe him at least 2 kesef, right? Uma kesef davar chashuv, and just like kesef has to be something chashuv, af Kalim davar chashuv, it has to be something chashuv, right? So Mamela, that's why.
What does davar chashuv mean?
I'm not sure. How do you define davar chashuv in Kalim?
I mean, according to in the parsha, it said that with a big case or a small case, it doesn't matter how much money it is. Have to judge them the same, right?
It seems to me that's where you get a pruta, because it's the smallest chashuv.
Right.
No, but a pruta is, you need to have more than a pruta, no?
Well, I can't take somebody that then Torah says he owes me a pruta. I suppose that's what the whole parsha Yisro is. They said doesn't matter if it's a $70 million case or a pruta case.
Right, no, that's true. But this din of being, if the guy's maida part of it, and he makes a shul on the rest of it, has
so
to
it's
have
a two. So it's two pruta case. He's maida owes him one pruta, and he makes a shul on the second pruta.
Correct. But so the thing is, it has to be, the reason why it needs to be 2 prutas is what? What do I mean?
Yeah, I can appreciate if it's two Reese's bars. He says he owes him 1 Reese, and he makes a shul on the second Reese's.
This is more than
the power of one of the Chalav Yisrael, or the
I was waiting for one of you to say that. Okay, good. You didn't disappoint.
Yeah, my pleasure.
What do you call it? So what the kasha is shtei kesef. So if anytime kesef has a minimum, so what are you doing? If kesef has its minimum amount, would be a dinar or whatever it would be, so then why do you need shtei kesef? Right? Elamai, there's no set amount to kesef. You need two kesefs. That's the Gemara's kasha, and the Haidah is shava pruta. So Gemara says no. There's a reason why you need 2. Really, it would have to be 1, right? But the reason why we need 2 is because of the comparison to Kalim, and we compare both ways. So Kalim is compared to money, that you need two coins, just like you need 2 Kalim, and also we go the other way, right? You have 1 kli, what's it called? It's just like kesef is something chashuv, so to the Kalim also have to be chashuv. Okay, that's kasha number 1. Kasha number 2, varei meiser. So meiser sheni, as we know, if you take your fruits and you put them, you don't want to schlep all the fruits of Yerushalayim. So either, the case here we're talking about where is you take the fruits and you put them onto coins. Then you want to take those coins, because there's too many of them, and put them onto a higher denomination of coins. So he doesn't have to schlep as many coins. So it says, "V'tzarta kesef biyodecha." So you wrap the silver or the money in your hands. V'tanan ha'payrit selam mimois ma'aser sheni. And we said that what you can do is you can, the pirates, you could take change. I don't know if that's the right exactly way to teach it, but it's not taking change. You're swapping sella from ma'aser sheni.
Exchanging,
right? So you're exchanging it, right? You're taking, basically what it seems is you're taking, what's the coins made out of? Copper coins, and you're swapping them in for silver coins, right? So again, you see, so you see that kesef does not necessarily mean pure silver. So he says, so the Gemara answers, kesef ha kesef riva. Since it says in the pasuk ha kesef, why doesn't it just say v'tzarta kesef biyodecha? You could wrap the kesef in your hand. It says tzarta ha kesef. So that extra hay tells you that it doesn't necessarily have to be, it can be copper coins too. It doesn't necessarily have to be silver coins. Fine. Very hektish. What about hektish? Because we know hektish, you make your car hektish. So basically, it's got nothing to do with your car. So they're going to take your car and you pile it onto coins. Right? Very hektish. And he gives kesef, and it's going to be for him. And meaning the kesef, he gives the money becomes hektish, and the thing becomes his. Right? This is a hard one to understand. I mean, it's not hard to understand. It's hard to comprehend. Right? Hektish that's worth 100, and this guy's mechalel onto a pruta. Mechulul, it's mechulul. I mean, the guy ripped off Ektish. He takes a car that's worth 10 grand and he's put it onto a shava pruta, into a nickel, and it works. Because it's exeris akasav that there's no there's no ripping off Hektish.
So what happened to Yaakov? I don't understand it.
The guy ripped off Hektish. He basically let's say he made his car Hektish.
Yeah.
Right? And now obviously the base of Mikdash has nothing to do with the car. So he said, I'll be paid in my car. But instead of taking $10,000 that his car is worth and making that $10,000 hektish, he takes $1 and he makes the dollar hektish.
And he gives the dollar to the
dollar becomes hektish, then the car becomes his. What do you mean? You just ripped off the base of Mikdash almost 10 grand. Right?
Did the guy give him a letter from the Gizber give him a letter for 10 grand?
Right off. I don't know, Taka. So, anyways, for whatever reason, it works. It works. I don't think the guy's getting the Tzaddik of the Year award, right? But it works. So again, we're talking about v'nosam kesef v'kamloi. So, what from the Eretz Yisrael? Yeah. So the question is, again, we says the word kesef. And kesef here doesn't mean necessarily pure silver. He can do it onto a pruta, right? Meaning if you say kesef means silver, then pruta shouldn't work. So one answer is hasamnami kesef yolef mi meiser. We learn out a what do you call it? I guess it's a gezerah shava. Is it? Yeah. So just like we just said, by meiser it doesn't mean pure silver. So by hektish doesn't mean pure silver either. Okay, what about harei kiddusha isha? What about getting married? A woman getting married. The sikhi yigach ish isha ba'ala. We said a man marries a woman and he's boil over gomer kicha mistayefren. And we learn out kicha mistayefren. V'tnan Beis pruta v'shava pruta, and Beis says with a pruta and a shava pruta. So name us, and now comes out that who's Rav Asi going like? He's going like Beis Shammai, who we never paskin like Beis Shammai. So name Rav Asi Domer ke Beis Shammai. So we're saying that Rav Asi paskins like Beis Shammai, right? How can it be that we learned out kicha that it's a pruta, right? And now Rav Asi is not going to be able to go with that. Rav Asi is going to have to go with Beis Shammai, which we know that we never paskin like Beis Shammai, right? So that can't be. So Gemara changes pshat. Ella itmar. If you want to say what Rav Asi meant, this is what he meant. Hachi itmar. This is what he meant. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Asi. Call kesef kotzav Amar b'Torah kesef tzuri. Anytime the Torah says a set amount that you have to pay, then it's kesef tzuri. B'shel devrayim kesef medina, and midrabanan it's a kesef medina, right? Meaning, so what are set amounts? So Rashi says the knas of 50 for how do you go 50, right? For ma'anis and for moitzi shemra, shloish mea 100. Moitzi shemra is 100. Anis mafat is 50. Eved is 30. Moitzi shemra is 100. There it says a number. So when it says a number there, then it's referring to kesef tzuri. B'shel devrayim. When it's by midrabanan, anytime the Rabbanan said something about kesef, that means kesef medina. Right? My kamashmal and says, what's the chiddush? Tanina, we already learned that. Chamesh slaim shall ben, the 5 slaim or ben, like we discussed before, the 5 slaim for tipidin ben, shloishim shall evet, the 30 for an evet, chamishim shall einus shal mafata, the 50 of einus and mafata, meya shal matzi shemra. Kulam b'shekel hakodesh b'manatzuri. Those are all referring to shekel hakodesh of manatzuri, right? So we already have a mishnah or a brisa that says this. So what's Rav Asi telling us? Tishal devrayim kesef medina. It's trichalei deloitnan. He's really not telling us anything. When we're saying the set amount, he's not telling us anything. That we already know. But the second part, then, when it's a derabanan, it's any type of kesef, then it's that much he needed to teach us. The Tanya had tekei lechaveri. If somebody now tekei lechaveri, Rashi says a couple of different pshatim here. He says either he's Tekeya, like we're talking about now in Elul, he blew into the guy's ear. And the second shot Rashi brings is that he hit him in the ear. Whatever it is, he damaged him. Right? The light tema, don't say that my sela, what is this that you have to give him a sela? I mean, if you damage it, you have to give him sela. Arba zuzi, don't, oh, sorry, I lost the track. If a light tema, my sela, arba zuzi, right? Don't say that the sela is arba zuzi. Ella, my sela, palga de zuzah. Sela means a half a zuz. Davidi inchi the karu lepalga de zuzah astira, because people call a half a zuz, they call it an astira, right? So mamela, that's a derabanan, meaning that amount is a derabanan. So mamela, the rabbanan have control over how much it's worth, right? Yeah, there was a Rashi here. I mean, basically, Ravasi is basically telling you, don't cheshbon the seller this way, cheshbon it this way, because that's what people mean. So, meaning it was given in the yad of the Chachamim to do whatever they want with this. But there was a Rashi about it, and I can't find it now. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, fine. So that was teretz number 2. Again, teretz number 1, that the reason why Beis Shammai says a dinar is because a woman will not sell herself for less than a dinar. That was teretz number 1. Teretz number 2 is that it's referring, because anytime it says a specific amount of money, then it has to be minat Torah, then it has to be kesef, right? Even though Kiddushin is not a specific amount, right? Kiddushin is not a specific amount. That was teretz number 2. He held like Chizkiah, the Amar Chizkiah, Amar Kra, the hefta, right? And he redeems her, meaning Melamed Shamegaras Mepidyoina v'yotzes. We subtract from her pidyon and then she can go out. Meaning, if you have a guy as a slave, she wants to buy herself back. So what we do is the slave, we know, gets sold for a maximum of 6 years till Shemitah. Right? So slave gets sold till Shemitah. So let's say she was sold for $60. So we know that every year she worked, it was $10. So now after 4 years, she wants to go free. So she doesn't have to buy herself back for 60, meaning she sold herself for 60. So now if she wants to buy herself back, we don't say, okay, you got to give back 60, right? What you do is you make a cheshbon and you subtract 10, using our example, 10 per year. So after 4 years, all she would need is 20, right? So we learn out from there. So it says so so it makes sense if it's done with a dinar, right? Meaning at the minimum amount that a guy can buy a slave is a dinar, because you can split up that dinar into prutas. If we say that the minimum amount that you could buy a slave for is a pruta, so pruta mima garas, is it possible you can't? A pruta is the smallest amount. How could you break up a pruta? Meaning, let's say a guy buys a slave for a pruta. What are you going to say? Split a pruta into 6 years, right? Divide it by 6 years. You can't do that. Elamai must be that's why you need a dinar, and from that we learned it out to Kiddushin. So before we get to that part, I think I want to ask, maybe this is what the Torah is saying. Let's say she was bought with a dinar, then tigra ad pruta. Then we could subtract her worth until a pruta. But if he only bought her for a pruta, so then enochanami, she can only buy herself back for a pruta. Meaning, we said that it has to be that the minimum amount is a dinar, because otherwise you can't subtract. There's a pruta, you can't subtract a pruta. Gemara is saying no. Maybe if she was bought for a pruta, then there's no subtracting. But if it was a dinar, then there is subtracting. So Gemara answers, Loi salkadaitach. You can't think that. On Tamar Aleph now. Loi salkadaitach. Dumya de yiyud, because it's similar to yiyud. Now yiyud is a din where the guy can marry his what do you call it? His servant, a female servant. Really, it's right. It's we learn on a lot of halachas from that. But yeah, anyways, I don't know a lot of halachas, but and there's a mitzvah of yiyud for the man to marry or to give it over his son. No,
if he doesn't,
right. Meaning, if the guy doesn't want to marry the slave, then he gives it over to his son. But whatever it is, you don't need to give her any money. Yiyud, you don't have to give her money because you already gave her money else your Evid. So you just have to decide to marry her, and that's it. So we're going to say it's similar to Yiyud. My Yiyud, afagav di'iboy miyayid biboy loy miyayid. By Yiyud, even though if he wants, he could marry her. Yiyud is just a word of marrying a slave. So avagav di'iboy miyayid biboy loy miyayid. If he wants, he can be miyayid. If he wants, he's not miyayid. Kol hechad loy matzi miyayid. But if it's not possible for him to be miyayid her, then he can't. Then she's not a slave. Meaning, let's say for whatever reason, a guy buys his sister as a slave. Right? The guy buys his sister as a slave, so he cannot do yiyud to her. So that means the whole slavery is no good. Right? Meaning you can't split yiyud and say, oh, for this slave, yes, yiyud, this slave, not yiyud. You can't do that. Right? So, if you cannot sell her back to herself, and she should be, and she's not able to pay back, what do you call it? Prorate. There you go. She cannot prorate it because she was bought for so little money, then the whole slavery is no good. So we're saying like this, just like by yiyud, even if the boss is not planning on marrying her, but he has to have the ability to marry her. And if he doesn't have the ability to marry her, halachically, then the whole yiyud is out. The whole slavery is out. So the same thing by a stama slave, if she is not able to prorate herself to buy herself back, then the whole thing is no good. So there basically we cannot split it. It's either all in or all out. That's essentially what the Gemara is saying. Okay, so the Gemara now going back to what the pshat is. The kedusha isha lebeishame nafkalume amavriya, and we learn out kiddushin from amavriya. Ma amavriya bepruta lemekanya, just like an amavriya. You can't buy her with a pruta afisha bepruta lemekacha. An isha also cannot be bought with a pruta. How do we know it from? We learn it out from yiyud. Right? Meaning basically we're learning it out from the Kiddushin of Yiyud. We're learning from the Kiddushin of Yiyud to regular standard Kiddushin. Okay, so that's basically why how Beis Shammai holds that you need a dina. Right? Fine. So the Gemara says Ve'ema palga the dina, ve'ema shtei prutas. Good. So now that you need to do you need to have a minimum amount of money that's you could break up. So you don't have to jump from pruta. So we're saying pruta you can't break up; it's the smallest amount. So we jump to dinar. You don't have to jump to dinar. There's a middle road. Why not 2 prutas or half a dinar? Why do you have to go all the way up to a dinar? Again, according to Beis Shammai, we're saying that you can't. You can't do the minimum that can't be broken up, which is a pruta. So he says a dinar. There's a big space from a pruta to a dinar. Right? So why can't you do that? So Gemara answers, Kivan da fikte mi pruta ukma dina. Once we're not doing pruta, let's go up to, I guess, round it off. Would it be rounded off? Go up to a bigger number, to the next biggest number.
It's the next smallest number.
Well, I'm saying the next
denomination.
I guess denomination. Yeah. So Rav Amar, so that's it. So that's third shot. And Rav Amar, Hainu Tamid B'Shamish, Lo Yibnois Yisol Kehefker. This one I really don't. If I didn't understand the rest of them, this one, Rav, this one I was thinking about when I saw this. Like, B'nai Yisrael shouldn't be hefker. So therefore, what? They gotta be it can't be a pruta because then they feel cheap. Also, we're gonna give them a dinar, right? So then they're gonna feel chashuv, right? What is it? A dinar? How much is a dinar?
Just throw it around. It's for me, not for her.
Is
that I shouldn't just throw it around?
Meaning, if you have to, basically the way the way Rav is saying it, is if you're going to just be Mekadesh and Isha with the smallest amount of a pruta, then it's going to be like Hefker. Oh, yeah, why don't you go? The boys in the bar are going to say, hey, just take a pruta and marry her, right? But a dinar is not like that. I don't know. I thought maybe it has to do with I don't know if that's what Gershon is saying. It has to be like the Musasha, but you don't just buy somebody for the cheapest thing. It's I don't know if it means.
Can't start thinking that.
Is it out the woman or out the man? Is it from the side of the man or side of the woman here that you shouldn't do it the cheapest coin out there? It's because of the male's attitude or for the female's sake, or maybe it's both, right? Okay, nobody has an opinion on this. Nobody has an opinion.
For a dinner is already treating yourself.
I'm saying, so we're saying,
the woman's side. I think it's from the woman's side.
You think it's a woman, meaning giving her a nickel. So that's what you want. The minimum amount of a pruta is a nickel.
It not be from anybody's side. It just may be psychological. The smallest denomination is just insulting to both.
Yeah, but it says Shelo Yehu Benos Yisrael Kehefker. It doesn't say Klal Yisrael Kehefker.
No, but it's but Benos Yisrael Kehefker to themselves or to males.
It's got to be to males.
Yeah, I don't know. Rashi has interesting. So how can they do that? How can you put it in a dinar? So he's saying because the Rabbanon took how did Rabbanon have that power to do that? If every kinyan is a pruta, that's not a different thing. Rashi's saying if every kinyan is a pruta, so how do you have a permission because you don't want the girls to look cheap? Move it up to a dinar. So he says because the Rabbanon have the power to remove Kiddushin, and if it's less than a dinar, so the Rabbanon have that power to get rid of the dinar. That's all. Okay, I'm not sure what the whole thing is, but right, that's true. Yeah, right. Anyways, okay, we'll stop over here. I hope understandable. Everybody, listen. Finish 9:20.